Hi there, and welcome to day 29 of the 2025 Inktober Tangle Challenge. I'm Martha, your CZT, and today we're going to be exploring the poke heart tangle. As always, I'll be doing two tiles. Start simple with just the basic tangle, and then the second tile will be a little bit more complex where I involve several other tangles. So let's get started. To begin, I am drawing a curved line on the left and right down to a center point where they meet. On top of those curves, I'm adding an additional curve to create kind of like a leaf shape. And then above all of that, I'm adding the top of a heart. At the top of the heart, I'm adding a few little triangular shapes. So these long kind of curved out triangles. You could also just do some lines. And then on the leaf shapes at the tip, adding a few little lines, and on the other one doing the same. At this bottom area here where those two leaf shapes meet, adding a few lines that kind of emerge from the same point. And then finally down here at the bottom, rounding out that crevice and filling it in with some ink. Additionally, I'm adding some ink to those triangular shapes that I drew at the top of the heart. I'm also adding a little bit of weight to kind of those original lines that I drew. So I'm just coming in and adding a little bit more ink to that heart. The shading is pretty simple on this tangle, so I'm just adding some graphite down at the bottom where those two leaf shapes meet, and then right above that area, and then at the tips of those leaves as well. And then of course using my tortillon to come in and blend that out. I felt like the top needed a little graphite, so I just took my tortillon and kind of just moved some graphite up into that area. So I didn't color it with my pencil, but just used what was already on my tortillon. And that, my friends, is the poke heart tangle. Nice and simple. So Inktober Tangles 2025, day 29. Only a couple more, y'all, and we'll just have to wait a whole nother year for the next challenge. Well, I've got some things planned for you all, but for the next Inktober Tangle challenge, we'll have to wait a year. All right, let's move on to a second tile. So a variation of the poke heart tangle. I'm starting with 4 dots in my corners and then connecting them to create a border. I'm then adding another set of corner dots and connecting them. So 2 borders which have created this kind of frame on our tile. I'm starting this tangle in the bottom right corner, and I'm creating first 2 curves and then 2 more curves on top to kind of create these kind of long and narrow leaf shapes, and then the top of the heart above it. And then I'm going to continue to draw this poke heart, kind of vining up this frame. I'm going to do it on the right side and then on the bottom part of the frame. If you're familiar with the tangles poke leaf or poke root, those 2 tangles grow. They're very organic and they kind of grow out of each other. So that was my idea here, was to try to create this poke heart tangle in their style. So just kind of growing out from the sides of that first one. And I'm using that pencil frame as kind of a guide. I'm unsure the backstory about the poke heart tangle, but I'm guessing that there's probably a connection to the two other tangles with similar names. So this is a poke root tangle, and I'm going to walk you through the steps in just a second. And then there's another tangle called poke leaf, and I'm going to be drawing both of those tangles intertwined with these poke hearts. So for the poke heart, you start with a little curve and a second curve, and then you add like a little hat on top, or you kind of cap them off before drawing an orb around the top area. So curve, curve, little cap, and then an orb around it. And they are always kind of growing in bunches, but I'm kind of scattering mine throughout the hearts. So a curve, and a curve, and a little cap, and then an orb. Next, I'm going to draw a poke leaf. So it starts the same as the poke root, but this top area is more like a leaf shape. And so I'm just going to play around with fitting all of these in together, this lovely little mix of poke root, poke leaf, and poke heart. And just have some fun with this. So now I'm going back to the frame, that original pencil frame that was drawn with the borders that were first put down on the tile. So I'm just tracing over it with my Pigma Micron 01 pen, and I'm just going to trace all the little parts that I can see, the smaller part of the frame or that inside square, any little straight line. And this is just a nice balance to all these organic shapes that we have going on here. I'm going to draw the tangle floors in this frame here, and so I'm starting by adding a series of parallel lines, and so just do this anywhere in the frame that you can see, and then I am crossing those parallel lines with another set of lines. I've zoomed in here so you can see what I'm doing at the intersecting points of these diagonal lines. So I'm drawing a little diamond shape, but the diamond has curved sides. So I'm just curving each corner there and then filling it in with black ink. So curve, 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 and curve. So we're kind of getting rid of those corners. But again, this is a nice balance with these straight lines, a nice balance to those organic tangles, the poke root and the poke leaf and the poke hearts. So in Zentangle, we always want to have this nice balance of black, white, and shades of gray. And right now this tile is looking pretty white. So what I'm doing is coming in and filling in some ink in the crevices and those little in-between areas, the negative space between the various tangles, just to add a little bit more black. What I ended up noticing here was more of the frame was showing than I realized. So I just came back in here and decided to add another poke root just to fill in that space. So you might find a few areas like that. Or maybe you filled yours nicely the first time. Either way, it's all good. There's a lot to shade here. Again, for the poke heart, shading down at the bottom point where the heart and kind of those leaf shapes meet. And then I'm adding a little graphite at the tips of those leaves and then at the top of the heart to really accentuate the roundness. And then for the poke root and poke leaf, just adding a little bit of graphite, a little curved line of graphite on one side. For the floors tangle that's in the frame, I'm just adding graphite to the edge, the inside edge. And that'll kind of help it look a little bit more three-dimensional. And then finally coming in with the tortillon and softening it up, smudging it in, blending that graphite into the paper fibers. And this just really kind of brings this tile to life. Adding a lot of gray here because it's a pretty light tile. Coming around the floors tangle here, and then getting a few more of those poke hearts and poke roots and poke leaves. All the things. And there we go. Adding my chop here, and then of course filling out the back of the tile. So Inktober Tangles 2025, and it is day 29. The tangle is poke heart. And poke root and poke leaf and floors if you want to add those on there as well. Sadly, Inktober is coming to a close here for the year, but I wanted to let you all know that I am going to be doing another Tangle practice in the month of November. It'll be a little bit of a different format from Inktober, but still hopefully very enjoyable for you all. So I hope that you check it out. Again, my name is Martha. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting me on this journey, and I will see you again tomorrow. Have a good one.